For a long time, it was my dream job and I loved doing it.
For 30 years, Associate Professor Trisha Pender lived her passion of teaching writing. But in 2017, she received devastating news.
I have stage 4 breast cancer, which is terminal breast cancer. I found out in September 2017, and soon after they found out that the breast cancer had metastasised to my bones.
The terminal diagnosis upended her life, eventually forcing her to sell her home and take time away from teaching. It meant a pause to a successful career that had taken her from Stanford University in the United States to Newcastle, where she'd worked for nearly 20 years.
I've had 2 mastectomies, the removal of my ovaries, the removal of a small tumour in my spine, chemotherapy, radiation therapy, hormone therapy. I did come back to full-time work 9 months later. It's an incredible honour to be able to teach new generations of scholars.
In 2024, Trisha's cancer returned, and by the time she got back to work again last year, she says her teaching workload intensified to the point that work stress rather than cancer would force her onto medical leave.
I was very, very scared last semester because I was so stressed about getting the work done that I couldn't really eat. I couldn't sleep very well, had lots of headaches, shakiness. I just started to suffer a lot from the pressure. I started just crying all the time and wearing sunglasses to work so that I didn't scare the students because I was so upset.
I've heard about the news, the health news from Associate Professor Pender, and I really do empathise with her situation. It's never straightforward for me to be able to comment on a person's workload. However, one of the most important things is everyone is able to raise concerns.
The evidence now about to be given by me shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Workloads and governance at the University of Newcastle have been the focus of recent hearings at a New South Wales parliamentary inquiry. The Vice-Chancellor, Alex Zielinski, says workloads are being reviewed, but federal funding changes since 2021 are shortchanging the sector by more than $1 billion each year.
I think part of the contribution to putting pressure on the university and not allowing us to reach our full potential is the funding regime. We'll seek to actually do what we can to relieve that. But what we can't do is run down the university's balance sheet.
Like universities across Australia, Newcastle has made multiple waves of job cuts over the last decade and been criticised for being too focused on making money. A national study of 11,500 university staff, partly funded by the National Tertiary Education Union, ranked Newcastle the worst public university in the country for what it called psychosocial risks, with 92% of respondents deemed at high or very high risk.
The fact that people feel that way, we take it very seriously. We reached out to the person who was leading that research, and one of the things we agreed on is that obviously there needs to be more data. 350 odd staff is not a big enough sample. We employ nearly 5,000 people.
To be clear, the whole sector is in a state of crisis, but Newcastle has really outdone itself and come last. So this university has such an excellent origin story. And
Associate Professor Liam Phelan, an environment and climate scientist, is another faculty member worried about the university's direction. He first started working here 20 years ago and says when the university began, it was built partly on donations from the local community.
Working people and their families all contributed by buying a brick.
Associate Professor Phelan's work looks at how regions like Newcastle can transition in a changing climate. He says that just like for other universities across the country, their performance really matters to the broader Hunter Valley region, especially as the only university in town.
As a country, we absolutely need a vibrant higher education sector. We need that to be training the next generations of doctors and engineers, teachers.
And I think maybe going back to students and asking them what they want.
Science student Imogen Reid says students are hurting too. She says in one semester, 3 of her 4 subjects were run by a single professor.
They were the course coordinator, they were also the lecturer, and in our tutorials they were also running those often by themselves, and yeah, marking and everything, just sort of solo.
Imogen Reid says students weren't consulted on course cuts and feel left out.
A lot of students are saying, hey, like in my MBA, we've got courses being cut, or I had this many electives, now I don't.
We also survey our students annually. The survey result from last year, it moved from 76% satisfaction to 84% satisfaction. So students overall are satisfied.
I thank you for taking these matters seriously.
The challenges aren't confined to Newcastle.
So universities should be the place that we are excited to either attend as students or for our children, thinking of my kids, to attend, because they're going to have their minds opened.
Dr Sarah Kane, a former academic and NTU official, is leading the New South Wales inquiry.
These are publicly funded institutions. They are there for a public purpose and to serve the public good, and we should demand that. Committee members have heard from a number of inquiry participants that they fear reprisals from senior leaders of universities.
In all the time I've been at the university, I don't recall me sanctioning anyone or any of my colleagues sanctioning anyone for speaking up. I welcome them speaking up.
Associate Professor Trisha Pender was among those to give evidence.
I've got a terminal disease, so I can stick my neck out to protest what's happening. But anybody else at the university who has kids to take care of, who has a rent or mortgage to take care of, they're basically held over a barrel.